Welcome, Nikhil,
Thank you,
to
sir.
Sporting Spree, the Enjogo podcast. You have been working as a grassroots and youth coach for a while now. So today, in today's discussion, we'll try to, understand how your journey has been and see if other aspiring coaches at the grassroots and youth level, if they can find something valuable from your story. So to start off with, can I ask you, when did you start your career as a grassroots football coach?
So this is back in 2013
Okay.
when BBFS had organized a CRS initiative with Real Madrid Foundation in Mumbai, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of the group of coaches who was helping out or assisting through the operations, and that is where basically from where my coaching journey began.
And how has the journey, if you have to just summarize in, say, maybe a couple of lines?
There's been a lot of growth both on the professional and personal front. I've learned a lot of things about my own character development as an individual, and almost certainly as a coach also. So I started off as a D licensed coach. I am now an A licensed coach, all through the learnings that I've gained here. So it's been fantastic.
What age were you when you started off?
When I started coaching, I was 22.
Okay.
It's been
11 years now.
Yeah, 11 years in the next couple of months. I will have been part of this beautiful organization. So.
And so what made you actually go in this direction? Because at the age of 21, 22, people normally would be just have graduated and they would choose maybe a mainstream career or a career which seems mainstream. For us, even football is mainstream. But what really was going through your mind? Why did you become a football coach? Did you play football from a very young age?
So I didn't start playing very young, but I used to watch a lot of football.
Okay. From what age did you start playing football?
I started playing football when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
At 22, I was already coaching.
So within 3 years, you made this decision to become a football coach?
The decision was, I think, probably in my fourth year when I was around 23.
Okay.
So when I started off, it was my then coach, the club that I was playing for. He sort of introduced me to the coaching certifications. He asked me to get my D certification done, and very shortly after my certification, the CSR project that I told you about, that came up. And once I got into BBFS and I started coaching, I realized how what an enjoyable experience it is to be with young kids, play around with them, help them out. Until then, the objective was very simple. I wanted to play for the country like every other footballer out there. But I soon realized that this might be it, because the amount of enjoyment I had doing that, it was.
So when did you realize that you wanted to become a coach, a football coach?
I think it was pretty early on in my in my journey with BBFS, where back in the day, that time in Mumbai, we did not have an under 8 program. We used to start taking players from, say, 8-9 year olds for the under 10 age group. And this one fine day, we had this 5-year-old come into our training center asking to see if he can also be a part of the program. And since I was around, the other coaches were already occupied with their training sessions, and I was around. I'm like, okay, since he's already on the ground, I did not want to just send him back home without playing. And from there, we started off with that under 8 group where we told that particular parent, okay, let him come. We'll see for a couple of days and see if he's enjoying it. Then we will see how to take it forward. Very quickly, that batch grew, and I think within the next couple of months, we had a full pack batch of 10-12 kids. And spending my weekend mornings with them became the best part of my week.
Okay.
And that is when I knew, okay, this is what I want to do.
So before that, you had already joined BBFS, but before that, it was just an experimental thing for you. You just wanted to try it out.
Yes.
Okay. And then how long did this experimentation stage go on for?
I think it was for the first maybe 3-4 months or so.
Okay.
Where it was, few sessions here and there spread across the week. But as time progressed and as I started enjoying it, as I started learning a lot more things about coaching, my mentors at that point, friends I call them now, they really helped me get a sense of what coaching is all about. And as I kept learning, as I kept spending time with these little boys, I realized that it is something that is going to be really valuable in terms of my journey also, on how I can contribute to the society. So yeah.
So let me take you even one step more backward. So basically, how did you get in? How did you make your entry into grassroots football? How did you come to know about BBFS? How did you start it?
So of course, Mr. Bhaichung Bhutia, everybody, every young footballer in the country at that point, everybody, even today, but of course back then also everybody knew about. And it was my decertification. During that course is when I met two colleagues of mine who were working in BBFS at that point.
Okay.
And we became very good friends there. And those guys were the guys who basically they got me to sort of intern, you would call it, or to assist in that CSR project. And that is how I got introduced to BBFS very closely. But of course, everybody knows about, even back then, we knew about Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools doing something like that.
Sure. So basically, you started off, you did your D license again as an experiment, and during D license, you met a couple of friends who actually, connected you to who were working with BBFS already, and they brought you to BBFS, and then from there that journey began.
Yes.
So it's quite interesting. Since then, 11 years, and you have been a one club man so far. I hope it remains that way for a long time. But again, moving on from there, so that's the point where after, when you start spending time with these young kids, you enjoyed this experience, and that's when your conviction grew that you wanted to spend more time and build your career as a grassroots football coach. Then since then, you were a D license coach, and now, as you said, you are an A license coach now. So how has this journey been like? Of course, it's in 11 years from D to A, this entire journey, of course, you must have progressed, you must have learned, and that is why you could actually get certified as an A license coach. But I'm not going to ask about these good things to start off, but at least what were the challenges? Like, what would you say was your biggest challenge during this journey of from a D license to an A license coach? Because the life of a grassroots or a youth coach can be tough if not understood well, right? So what would you say was your biggest challenge that you faced during this journey?
So I think through different phases of of my time here, there have been different challenges. Like, for example, for a 22-year-old, when you're getting into something, the first thought that comes to your mind is, am I going to be able to sustain a living out of this? So I think the initial couple of months, maybe say a year or so, that was the challenge. But then as my knowledge of the industry in general grew, and the understanding of the way the organization works grew, I think my confidence, with what I could do here became much, much better. The confidence grew, and then I think from then on, I've never looked back at that as as a concern. So that was something very challenging for the first couple of years. But
any particular moment you remember as your most difficult moment during this journey?
During my childhood, when the time I was getting into coaching, you would see summer vacations, typical scenario, two boys playing with a bat and a ball. Say a couple of years down, when I started coaching, that scene had already started to change. I could see play one boy with a football kicking it against the wall, and I think that is, I still remember the brightest smile on my face when I saw a young boy just kicking the ball around, and the sport gaining popularity. It is something that has given me a lot of joy. The sport in general has given me a lot of joy, and I'd hope for it to do that for a lot of young players, and to see that transition in the country, I think it was a wonderful feeling. And I think since that point on, that concern was never really a concern. So fortunately for me, I've been in situations where or I've been given a lot of opportunities where I have had I have not had to struggle as much. I've fortunately been given opportunities to grow regularly, so that was never a time where this was like one of my major concerns. But yeah, the transition came from that point when I saw, I think that boy, I still remember that image in my mind, that boy kicking the ball against the wall.
I think that speaks a lot about your passion for the game and how close you feel to it, and that's the reason why probably you felt so good on seeing a small kid with the ball and playing against a ball. So let me take you off the field. Off the field, again, 11 years is a long time, more than a decade. From your early 20s to early 30s, one's personality might change, once the whole outlook changes. So off the field, how did your parents react? Were there any challenges at a personal level? Were there situations where you were, you faced a dilemma? Is this really the right thing that I'm doing? Should I be looking for other options? Did this thought ever cross your mind? And if yes or no, how did your parents and your family react to this?
My parents, I come from a family of businessmen. The only thing my family has ever known is business. So generational businessmen. And for me to transition into something like this, was a scary prospect for my parents. And there was that initial backlash, because they were also like every other parent. They were just worried if I will be able to sustain, with this as a career choice. So that time it was very simple. You either become an engineer or you become a doctor. I was preparing for my JEE also. Of course, I did not fancy it as much. I did not put enough effort there, and the result showed in the way, or on my scorecard. But as time progressed and as they saw me grow, as they saw the opportunities I'm getting, I think they also sort of got used to the fact that, okay, this is something that I am going to do, throughout my life. And throughout this journey, my siblings, they've been very supportive. Again, similar generation, so they've also seen football grow as a sport. So for them, it was easier to relate to what I was, chasing. Over time, of course, my parents now are, completely on board. They also find a lot of joy looking at my face working. When they see me work, the way things have gone for me over this last decade, they are also very satisfied with the journey.
Yeah, talking about siblings, I remember there was a time a few years back when your sister, who lives in Australia, I think, when she suggested to you that you should come over to Australia and live in Australia. But you decided to stay put. Can you just take us through what happened and what made you take that call to continue your journey as a football coach and on the same path, basically?
All right. So that the conflict at that time was, Australia being a better, in general, the acceptance for sport in the culture in Australia is much better, and which is why my sister suggested that I move there. But for me, the decision was really very, very simple. I've been here, over a decade now, and I've seen myself grow as an individual, which I think for me is something that is of paramount importance. And for that reason, purely, the decision was very clear in my mind that till the time that I am able to continue to grow here the way I have been in the last decade, till the time I've had some wonderful mentors in my time here, and that has always helped me become a better person. I think that for that reason, that decision has always been a fairly easy decision to take for me.
Okay. And now, so when you say that the thing that kept you, that made you stay, was that you continued to grow, and I think that also probably increased the conviction in your parents, your family members, seeing you grow every day, every month, and that how you are enjoying your job here. So that made them kind of continue to support you as well. Now, when you say that you feel you have grown a lot over the last decade, what does it really mean? Like when you say that grow as a person, what does it really mean? Where do you think, which are the areas which you think you have grown because of working as a football coach at the youth and grassroots level? Because one is, of course, technically we know that you have grown because the certifications have grown, from D to C to B to A license. So that's a professional certification journey, which means that technically also your understanding must have been grown, right? Your understanding must have increased as far as technical aspects of football are concerned. However, as a person, when you say that as a person you grew, is there anything specific that comes to your mind when you reflect on your journey?
So one of the things that I think I am most grateful of, through the course of this journey is I spent a lot of time working with, kids from 8 to 10 years of old, age. And one thing that it teaches you is to be patient, because, dealing with a 5-year-old, dealing with a 9-year-old, 10-year-old who has a very short attention span requires you to, keep persisting. And as a player, I was not like that. As a player, I was, very aggressive. I would be lashing out on my teammates, opponents, referees, whoever came in my way. And I think that is not the person that I am right now, under difficult circumstances, under, the kind of challenges that those little kids pose. For you to, go past that or try and resolve some of those things, teaches you a lot of persistence, gives you a lot of determination, and definitely improves your confidence also, because once you go past one challenge, okay, if I can do this, I can maybe do the next one also. If I can do this, I can do the next one also. So I think that has been the most drastic change in personality, I would say.
So working with children has helped you to become more aware, more self-aware, self-conscious. Because of course, the way you, as a young boy, the way you interact with your friends and with your peers is totally different from the way you have to kind of interact and behave with a 5-year-old, 10-year-old kid and so on. Yeah. So in this whole journey, you must have also interacted with a lot of coaches, because you started your career with some friends, with some peers, and then over the course of the following 10 years, some of them must have changed their direction. Some of them must have gone on to other industries. Some of them must have pursued. Some of them must have gotten disoriented with this whole football coaching and Indian football in general. It's not too difficult to get disoriented with Indian football. And at the same time, you must have also seen people who have been there throughout this journey, and their conviction must have grown maybe longer than you. So if you reflect on your interactions with these, what would you say? Like, what do you recall?
So one, with, I think that is sort of constant throughout the board, where one thing that I think youth coaches are all chasing is very quick growth. And I think any sort of development, whether it be with players or with ourselves as coaches, it cannot be, it cannot be very, very fast. I would even go and say it probably shouldn't be very fast, because it does not give you enough time to, sort of imbibe those learnings into your daily process. So with a lot of these, interactions, I've always seen coaches, I want to go from an under 13 quickly to an under 15. I did one under 13 once. I don't want to do this again. I've been an under 8 coach for 1 year. I want to, take up a senior age group now. It is Premier League football, European football, what you watch on television, you see managers doing this, that. It is a fascinating thing.
So, do you have some friends who worked with you as coaches but did not continue on their journey? Can you remember any?
So I can recollect one friend who when I joined BBFS, he was one of our coaches. He was also working with us, and a very good friend of mine. For a few years left coaching, and has now very recently come back to it because he also realized what he was sort of missing.
So after how long? How long was the gap?
I think a period of, so he was continuing to coach, in bits and pieces, but he was not like some very regular at it. So I wouldn't really call him like a grassroots coach at that point. That gap must have been close to 5-6 years, maybe even more.
You started off, like you said, with under 7s, under 8s, and you have throughout the course of your journey so far, you have also been able to coach under 16s, under 17s, under 16s, right? So across the spectrum.
Yeah.
You have also done a little bit of, not a little bit actually, but you have also done quite a bit of coach education as well, basically, right? If you can share your experience in terms of how does your style or how does the approach change when you are coaching a group of under 8s versus a group of, say, under 16s?
So something that I have personally always done when coaching the under 8s is my primary intention always was to get them to fall in love with the game. All right, longevity was the more important thing there, because like academic education, where we start from grade 1, spend 12-13 years, and then eventually get your bachelor's or your master's and go on and work in a particular industry. In that sense, the journey for a player also is similar, right? The first, say, from 8-9 years of age to maybe say 20-22 years of age, players are still learning. It is not that they are that finished product. And for me, the idea always has been for the youth, for the grassroots players to, for them to really enjoy the sport. And as a coach, that is what I always try to do. The field, that one, to me and that group of friends, we had a saying amongst ourselves that 1.5 hour that the players spend on the field has to be the best 1.5 hour of their day. That is the standard we set for ourselves every time we went onto the field. That for us it is important to give a performance, because how we deliver on the field or how we engage the players on the field is going to decide whether they continue the sport or not. So that was, for me, that is that has always been the most important thing in grassroots football. It is about, teaching them life lessons. It's about teaching them, getting them to fall in love with the game. With repetition, technical development will happen. Sometimes as a coach, it might get boring because, you're doing something for 1 year, then that bunch of players is moving forward to the next age group and you're doing the same thing again. But it's of very, it's of paramount importance that you as a coach, you have that consistency, because that consistency will be needed even, let's say, if we move on to the under 16 age group, like you asked.
From a coach's perspective, when you look at your under 15s, under 16s, obviously they're going through a lot of physical changes, emotional changes. So what have you found to be the most challenging aspect of coaching a teenager?
Two things in today's time and age. One is, technology.
Social media, you mean?
Social media is something that I think the youth of today is hooked on to, and while it has, its advantages.
So what are the disadvantages? Like what problems does it cause? What have you said based on your experience?
It is, for me, it is not the use of social media, it is the extensive use of social media, because it is, very, very engaging. Players spend way too much time.
The players, young players spending too much time on social media. Based on your experience, what have you seen? Like, what does it impact?
They miss out on a lot of time that could be spent on reflecting, on understanding themselves, analyzing the game, looking at, talking to teammates, getting feedback from them,
building relationships within the team, outside the team, with family, friends.
Right. So those are I think the biggest losses for me when they're extensively using social media and
Yeah, I also additionally think that in addition to what you said, that they are also losing important dopamine supply in their body, because they're losing that to social media, because the body cannot generate unlimited amounts of dopamine. So if they are spending more dopamine, getting more dopamine hits on social media, obviously their motivation with respect to other real life important meaningful activities also goes down. So whether it is, again, like you said, building relationships or interacting with teammates or coming and playing on the ground, they might actually not have that much motivation to do those things. So it's a double whammy. One is that you are losing time, and you are also losing dopamine supply of the day.
And it very clearly shows on the performance on the field also.
Really?
You see players distracted. So this is about a year and a half ago, when we were in one of these competitions, and we had a game in the morning against one of the better opponents. You played that game, won that game, and went back to the room to rest. Players being teenagers, this is my under 17 group, so 15-16 year olds again, gave them some time on the phone. That some time on the phone went on for a little longer, and when we came back for the next game in the afternoon, you could see the players were not focused. We were making errors that we would generally not make. We were not connecting well with each other because we not spent time talking to each other. So it is the repercussions of spending too much time in front of a screen shows on your game also. Physiologically also, of course, it will impact how much rest your brain is getting, how much rest your eyes are getting.
Plus like everything that you do that gives you an artificial dopamine hit is like a drug at the end of the day. It is like having a pint of beer and then playing on the field, right, and then playing the next game. So it's actually like that, because internally inside your body the same activity is happening. In my or not the same, but a similar physiochemical change is happening inside the body, as a result of which it is not surprising that the children are unable to focus on the game. Of course, they would be disoriented after, say, half an hour or 1 hour using social media for 1 hour or 2 hours before a game. All right. What about now? Let's move to the coaches. What has been your biggest challenge as far as coach education is concerned, when you are trying to share your learnings, your experience with other coaches?
One of the biggest, the most frequent questions that I have been asked has always been, because a lot of it, when somebody's getting into coaching, like my journey began, the first question always is, how sustainable can it get? I think that fear is something that is prevalent across all grassroots and youth coaches who are just sort of entering into the industry. Other than that, the challenge again comes from being consistent. Like I said earlier also, it is about doing the same things over and over again, because what again a lot of times we don't realize is that repetition of doing the same thing over again is what is building up our process as a coach also. So a lot of these early years as a grassroots coach is for us to learn rather than educate players, which is why I mentioned I've been very, very fortunate. I've had some brilliant mentors in my time here in BBFS, and they've always edged me on to keep going and doing the same things over and over again with little iterations, so that I can keep getting better at it every day. And I think that is why this 10-year journey has been such a pleasant journey for me, because I've always had although I was doing more or less the same thing, there was always a little bit more that I was looking to add. One little tiny change that has now over the course of 10 years become a massive one.
So from here on, what now? What next? Right? So you are now 32, 33 years old. What does the future hold for you, or what do you want to do in the near future or in the far off future?
I think very early on in my journey as a coach, I realized that my happiness lied with, working with the youth, working with grassroots and youth players. And that is where I want to continue. I think that is where I can do my best work. That is where I want to continue. So short term, long term, my future, to me, at the moment, it looks like working in that space. As a coach educator, as a coach, to me it does not make too much difference, because eventually as a coach educator also, we are able to eventually help out, the players. Of course, the feeling is a little different in both these, genres of work, but I equally enjoy both. So my primary concern is just that I want to be able to help the grassroots and youth players through one medium or another.
Okay, great. So it's been quite an insightful discussion, I must say, about what you think, about how your approach has been over the years. Of course, we have worked together for so many years, but we discussed some things which I was probably not aware of earlier. And I think from my perspective, over the last 11 years, a lot of your journey, the way your experience has been, a large part is, I think, more due to your own values and your own approach. You were genuinely passionate about the game, so you could feel it, and you already had a little bit of sensitivity or little bit of awareness about the kids and how their emotions, because not everybody, a lot of times people are just very, very insensitive. It is not by intent, but just because they're not aware about it, they're not trained or educated about it, they end up looking very insensitive towards the needs of coaches, young coaches and players. But I think that those qualities you already had. And then about this consistency also, I think these are values that you have developed even before joining BBFS, maybe thanks to your family, your education, your friends, etc. And it's been, from my perspective, like I said, it's been a beautiful experience for me also to see you grow so far. And of course, it's just the beginning. You are an A licensed coach at the young age of 30 to 33, and I think the sky is the limit, as I can say, which means that there is no limit to the sky, which means it's virtually limitless. So my best wishes. Thanks for coming to the podcast, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and all the best for the future.
Thank you, sir. Likewise, the pleasure has been mine. It is all these years it has been mine. Thank you.